Welcome to Design 3. We are going to be back to using the hopping foot, not the hopping foot, we're going to be using our walking foot this week. And we're going to take inspiration from the blocks for our quilting designs. Instead of quilting directly over the top of them all, we're actually going to be using the block shapes as our quilting design ideas. We're going to jump off from those. So I've got my pieces all pinned together, ready to quilt, and I will show you how to mark them, but I'm going to show you first on the practice piece, which is just this plain piece. So you can see this one here is block 9, has that large square, the rectangles, and then the smaller square here. So I will be using the sew line pen for this one. So basically what I've done with this lot is, because there are those diamonds, or the we're going to create some diamonds, but we have a number of triangles, so I'm actually going to play up on those a little bit. So these first couple of lines are a registration line, and they're not ones that I'm going to be sewing or quilting. They are a bit of an idea. I don't know if that's going to show up for you. Hopefully it shows up. I've drawn a cross on the center of the line. I'm going to see if I can grab an air pen, which might show up better on screen. Alright, just remarking these center lines. So what I actually want to do is define those by coming in, say, 1/4 of an inch from the line. And I'm creating a triangle within the triangle that I've sort of, the 1/4 of the square. And so you can see I've echoed that shape there. So basically going to do that all the way around. Sorry, I'm lining up the corner of my block and I'm coming in 1/4 of an inch. So from the edge of this ruler that I'm using, from my registration lines. So that gives me, it will give me a little bit of a star in the center when I've finished marking. And you'll be able to see that when we get to the quilting. So we're going to start doing that. I'll keep going with that one. Block 10, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide, I don't want that extra bit. I'm going to divide this top and bottom block, line up my parts properly. I'm going to create a triangle in the top and the bottom of the block, and that's going to give our design repetition across the whole block, which adds to, well, it just becomes a design feature. So if you would like to do that, pick a design feature and then repeat it. Vary it in size and shape. These ones here, similar to this block, this small block, literally going to do a cross. If you wanted to, you could actually add a square as well. So you end up with, rather difficult to see, for me to see. There we go. So we have a square, but we also have the cross in the center of that one, with that repeating triangle feature in the top and bottom of the block. So this is one that we will need to stop and start and then move to the next block with these triangles. This is a spot where you do need to check what you've done with your seams. I've pressed these seams. Get my actual block, put it beside it. These seams, I've pressed mine open, which means I can't stitch in the ditch, because then you end up stitching over thread, which is actually not great for the longevity of your quilt. So what I'm going to be doing is stitching just inside the line. So I'm going to create the triangle there. So it's just inside, but it's actually on the fabric of the triangle. And then I will add another one as well. So probably the easiest way to do this, to give yourself a good chance of getting all your points in line, is to put a registration line down the center of your block, of your triangle, so that you know that's what you need to hit. And it's at that point that you stop and change direction. So basically, straight line sewing, we do need to change when we get to the bottom. We're changing direction. And so we're just going inside the line and then further down. So mark as much as you need to be able to complete the design. And with, that was block 12. This is block 11, which is the shoe fly block. Put this one here for you. You can't see that up there. The shoe fly block. So we're going to do the same thing. We can create the same diamonds that we used in this block up here, same shapes, and we can just do a cross when it comes to these blocks here. So I'm going to finish marking up all my blocks, and then I will get onto the quilting. So as with any quilting project, we try and avoid as many stops and starts as possible. So this is a good opportunity to talk about quilting path, like the path of your quilting. How are you going to get from one place to the other? And I'm just going to check whether my feed dogs are up. Yes, they are. All right, so all right, so I am doing this top rectangle first, and I'm going to go from the corner that I've sunk my needle in. So it's not the corner of the block, but it's that first seam, and I'm going to go to the top of that. So again, with this, using the walking foot, you will find that there is quite a few direction changes. So now that I'm here, I'm actually going to complete this little four patch in the corner, because that will nice and easily get that quilted. Basically doing a cross in this one. Now, if I wanted to, I could come back and do the diamond that's in it as well. At this stage, I won't. I'll think about that later. Okay, back down here. Alright, I'm now going to do this one, and then I'm going to come back and do the echo of the triangle that we are quilting in. as far as quilting goes, this is using the design of the block as inspiration for the quilting. One more. All right, turning around, and I'm going to echo what I've just done. So you can see I've marked a line here. If you want to, you can use your foot. That basically you want to end up with this side of your foot on the outside of that line. It doesn't really matter how you choose, I guess, as long as it's pretty much the same all the way. Now we're heading straight back into the corner. So this does require that you are able to hold your fabric and sew or quilt a straight line. But if you've been piecing these blocks, I would say that you are pretty good at sewing in a straight line by now. Now we're going to head back to the corner where we started. And now we're going to look at this main block. So, as I said, I created a cross in the middle, and I'm going to, making sure my foot is down when I've changed direction. I did put some registration lines in here, and I am going to follow those initially. So you can see I've got my nice contrasting thread for you. Each time you change direction, make sure it's smooth. Reposition your hands so that you are comfortable. It's too late once you've started. You will get in the rhythm where you change direction and then put the foot back down again. So you'll only make that mistake once, hopefully. And this will be, in the grand scheme of things, as long as you are quilting in a relatively straight line, any slight wobbles are not going to be overly noticeable. As I come into the center again, can you see what we've created? We've got a bit of a very narrow star happening. Do I need to go one more stitch? I need to go one more stitch. There we go. Change direction, and we're going back again to the point that we started at. And so now we can go through and put the echoes in for this block. We've stabilized the block by going all the way around. You could, if you were happy, to do both lines of stitching on one triangle before you moved on to the next one. You would end up with a slight trouble after you'd done two, though. If you sort of go forward and back, you end up in the same place. So sometimes it's easier for your thread path to travel around the quilt block. And then if you're echoing, you can travel around it again. And that is something you will develop as your quilting skills develop, what your thread path should be. Okay, so here we have block 1, and where's our corner? It's up here. It's up here as well. Alrighty, block 10. So the previous block was not block 1, but block 9. I guess it's block 1 of this unit of 4. So just gathering my thread for block 10 and doing a couple of locking stitches. And now we're going to do a repeat of that triangular design that we've created in that rectangle at the top of block 10. Now in this one I am actually going to do the repeat straight away because I don't need to travel to another one of these. I need to do the blocks that are beneath it. So you do need to be a little bit flexible in your quilting path and adjust it for each block. Alright, so now I'm going to do the crisscrossing that's in these. This is like a 16 patch part of the block. Nice and easy, we just head to that seam line and then we're going to, I might just travel, actually while we're here we're going to do the bottom block, the bottom rectangle with the triangle design. And this is making use of where you're traveling to, because you want to basically get around your whole block as quickly as possible if you can. No, I am going to do the echo. So in essence I end up back where I started from when I decided to do that triangle. Alrighty. So this is where we will travel along what is a seam line. And I'm actually going to stop and do the square that's in the middle, because I can come all the way around to do that square back to where I was, and then I can continue with the rest of that quilting design. So yeah, I'm asking your brain to be flexible in how it adjusts to the quilt path. Needle down, change direction, make sure my fabric is smooth, and then going all the way back across, hitting all those seam points. Now to make this block, I guess, even, this here is quilted, so I'm actually going to quilt across this, which would be potentially a ditch. When you've got a block with piece lines. And there you have block 10. Here we have block 11. So you might be able to see that I've marked in my triangle designs into the shoe fly block. Now this one I had to sit and work out the thread path, and I'll show you that when I go through the block with you. But I am going to do the echo for each of these as we go along. And then I'm going to work a little bit into the next rectangle so that I can travel around the block. So the rectangle that's in the middle, I'm going to do that by crossing here. This is the center square at the bottom of the screen, along the side of that, and then to this one, ready to start the next triangle. So you do have to keep track of which way I'm turning, but we will effectively travel all the way around the block. So we're in the next corner to do our echoing, our triangle design. So basically unfortunately, I have actually coming up against a problem. If I echo back this way, I'm going to end up over here, which isn't really going to be helpful. So I am going to continue with this next crossed block around the remainder of the block, and then when I come back I'll be able to do the echo, I think. We shall see. If not, there will be an extra start and stop. Sometimes it can't be avoided, but we do try. Sometimes the best way to do those sneaky stitches is if you're able to travel in the ditch, you can hide your thread path and work your way back to where you want to be. So we may end up doing that on our last go around. I do have a cross in this center square, so I'm actually going to do that now. Not get that one in the way. And so I am going to travel along this previous stitching line to get back to the corner. We have our last corner. We're going to do the triangle design, the first part of it. And our last crossed block. Back on this one, I do need to, maybe I'll just see here, I need to fill in this line here of that center block. So, and then I'm going to turn around and basically quilt back over the top of it. And then we have the last step of cross. Alright, so the way we're going to combat, can you see that gorgeous sort of star design developing? Alright, the way we're going to get around doing that echo is that we are going to sneak across that seam line, and now we're going to do the echo. So you'll notice I'm actually on the other side now. It's on this side of the foot. That is definitely a skill that you need, well, it's good to develop, is to be able to quilt in any direction. Alright, so we're going to sneak along here. This would be a seam line. And reposition everything. When you're quilting, don't look at your needle. You'll end up feeling a bit seasick. Look ahead of your needle so that you are looking where you're going, basically. And we're almost done. So I am going to go across this seam line here, which then makes it much like all the rest of it. And there you have, that is block 11. Alrighty, so here we have block 12. Now I've turned around my 4 block unit, and so this is actually the bottom of it. You can see on this practice one I've labelled this block 12. Done my locking stitches. My markings have started to disappear because I used the purple pen for this one, but there's just enough for me to be able to see what I need to do. Now, as I mentioned, I am not stitching in the ditch. I'm creating and that's mainly because of the way I pieced this. I actually opened those seams. It's not something I always do, but I do find it distributes the bulk for a flying geese quite nicely, but it does mean that you don't have a ditch. And so the first one, I'm doing that triangle design. I've gone quite close to the top of the triangle, and that will definitely hold it all down and support that seam. Now I'm in that center part where there's the 2 flying geese that abut each other. So basically we can do 4 lines around it, and you can either do them as an echo or you can do them as a diamond shape, which is what I'm going to do. So each time we're heading into the corner, repositioning, heading to the point, so that's the first diamond done. And now for the echo. So if you can choose a design from your blocks and make the most of that by some simple straight line quilting, even if they're not triangles, you can, because you're using the same design concept, and I guess that's really what this is a design concept, then you can make your quilt look quite uniform. So you can see there's the 2 diamonds. Now we're going to travel down this side, down to this bottom triangle, and this is the last bit, and we're almost done with block 12. So stitching to the middle, one more. Don't be worried if you need to adjust your points and go 1 stitch more. That certainly helps. Alright, I'm just going to travel to a couple of locking stitches there. And there we have block 12 done as well. So a quick walkthrough of the blocks. This is block 9. We started here. We did the echo, or the first triangle. Then remember we did this square here. Then I did this triangle, and then finished the echo on that top one. So these 2 rectangles and the square are done. With this one, we basically worked our way around this square twice, into the center and out again, to make that close, very narrow star, and then we did the echo line back to this. So this was our start and stop point for block 9. Block 10, we started here, did our first triangle design. We did do the first line all the way across, came halfway, and we did the square. Went the rest of the way, and from here where did we go? No, from here we went the rest of the way. We did this triangle design down the bottom, and then back to this side, and then completed and made the block even by quilting across to here. So again, our start and stop point was right here. Block 11. This was the one we had a little bit of fun. So we did do this one first. Actually, we started here, and we're able to do that first triangle design. Did the first cross block, and that was when I realized that my thread path was not going to work smoothly. So we ended up doing the first triangle design, did the cross block, and then continued around doing the first triangle design and the cross block. With this one, we came here, filled in that line, and completed the cross block, traveled down this way, and then echoed by traveling, and we're able to get around by working our way across what would be a seam line to finish that echo. So as far as changing up the quilting designs, what you can do, and what I may well do on my coloured ones, is to actually fill in that same design on the background triangles. So you would end up with this sort of design on each of the four corners of this block. And that would should look quite pretty. So you've actually got a similar design here, where you've got a larger diamond created here and here. So that's how you could change that up. If you wanted, you could also do more within these, but this is certainly enough to hold your blocks together. So here you have our design 3. I've got a bit of an extra thread there. Now I did work out block 11 how to get around that, and I'll show you on the back of the coloured ones. So this is my block 11. An odd number will help you travel. So I'll show you, turn it over and show you what I did. All right, so I think, where did I start? That's a good sign if I can't find where I started. All right, pretend I started here. So this would be our first triangle design. If you use my left hand, I won't cover it. So you travel up and then do the echo, and then I did go into that outside triangle, and that gave me the 3, an odd number, which meant I could do this part, then travel to here, do the cross block, then again do the triangle and use the 3rd or the odd number, so it can be 3, 5, 7, whatever. That meant I could travel to do the next cross block, and then again the triangle design, only part of that in that outside block, the cross block, and etc. I did come in and do that center one, and I'll show you on here so you can see just here there's a quilting line in that outside triangle. In essence, the rest of the blocks are all the same. So you can see I've got that star design, in the back of that one is block 9. So I'm really quite fond of that design. You can imagine that in a, repeated all the way around your quilt. So there is my unit of 4 quilted with straight lines, using the blocks as inspiration, and using those piecing lines as quilting guidelines. So hope you have a go, and you can use this on any of the blocks really, but this I've chose these ones because I thought it would work really well on this block, and it does look pretty cool on the back. Have fun.